Hi guys, just taking a moment before the video starts to thank my patrons. Special shout out to Vicky, Mike and Essa for their continued support of these videos and other content. If you want to be part of it, do check out the links in the description below. Thank you very much, and let's get on with the video.
Hello! Today I'm going to go ahead and talk about how you can take combat and add a little bit more of a dynamic RP focused spin on it to hopefully avoid things feeling like more of a slugfest for you and your players. This is something that I've come to learn over the past year or so, is that boy howdy can 5e just be a numbers game. And there are people who enjoy that. That's very fair, and it's not for me to disparage those people who feel that way at all. However, when I'm running my games, I run them with a very big RP focus, and so I want combat to also have that focus. To not just feel like here is an obstacle I've put in your way for the sake of there being an obstacle. I want, like in films, or good films, this fight has a meaning, and this fight itself tells a story. We're going to talk today about how we can do that, and there are four main things to kind of cover in this that will, four key aspects for me of what makes things you can use to make a more dynamic combat encounter. First off is motivations. Look at what the motivations are of not just your party, not just your players, but also the monsters that are involved in this combat. If you are running a combat encounter, why is that encounter happening? Why is the monster trying to kill the players? Why are the players trying to kill the monster? Vice versa. Does it have to just be we're trying to kill each other? Are the players trying to stop a ritual, and then the monsters that are fighting are trying to keep this ritual going through whatever means? Is it beyond the fact that the players have to just kill, like, oh, there are these cultists doing a ritual, okay, we need to kill the cultists. Like, okay, what are the cultists doing? Are the cultists reachable? Is there something currently blocking the players from reaching the cultists that they then need to destroy before the cultists can be reached? Or does it not matter? Is killing the cultists exactly what makes the ritual happen? I run a custom game on Thursdays twice a month, and I ran a very heavily tweaked encounter based off of the Golthias tree in Yester Hill. And for that, it was a ritual being conducted by the druids of Yester Hill, which required them to die, and through their sacrifice of themselves, their energy would feed into the Golthias tree and cause it to come alive and animate and power on through. The players weren't aware of this as being a thing, but they did see from the beginning of the ritual, oh, these guys, their turn, the first turn of the druids of Hill was they're all going to collectively stab themselves, which serves as a hint for the players, like, this is what they want to happen. This is what they want to happen. This is what they're aiming for. They are not casting a spell. They are not saying magic words or turning on a magic stone. They are dying. That is their goal. How do you stop that? And so this just adds a nice twist to your normal combat encounter, where it's not just a burn them down to 0 hit points. The players have to stop and think of, okay, what are they trying to do? How do we stop this beyond the normal thing? Beyond the normal just hit until dead. And this can be a very different experience, but sometimes a very frustrating experience for players, especially when it's the first time it's happening, because they can be very used, and I think we as players and DMs get conditioned into assuming that, oh, this fight is just go, blast, move on, next one. Okay, add in those twists, there's a high chance the party fails. But failure is one of the reasons we play D&D. The reason we play with the dice is to add in that chance of failure, because the chance of failure can then make for an even cooler story. Another example for what a goal, an ulterior motivation for the party especially could be in this situation, is that they are someone that they know, an ally or even a potential ally, someone they've been told this person can help you, is currently dominated, controlled by the villain. I ran this, another example of my custom game, I ran an encounter where the abbess within Kretsk, within the Abbey of St. Markovia, is a Deva. The abbess is dominated by Strahd in my version. Strahd has orchestrated this whole sort of domination altar that is currently disguised as the actual altar of the Abbey, and the abbess is currently under Strahd's power. Destroying the altar breaks Strahd's control over the abbess. And this is the thing that slowly became revealed throughout the fight. It starts off as just a straight up fight between them and the abbess, and then at one point the abbess threw the cleric across across the abbey, across the church. And you do in these kind of situations, I think, have to lean a little bit into that kind of. We all get very frustrated when this happens at films, and sometimes very justifiably, when it's like, why didn't they just kill them? Why are they just throwing them around? It's like, because of the story. It doesn't make for a good story if as soon as the bad guy has those, like, oh, and now I murder you. You're done. The drama. Think of the drama. And throwing someone across the room is fantastic drama. So when the cleric, Elias, got thrown across the room, Elias noticed that there was something to be something under the altar. This sort of sickly green light coming out from underneath it. So that alerted him, okay, there's something up with the altar here. As the fight went on with the abbess, she eventually, the sort of pristine, regal visage of her initially then, like, got wiped away. She was sort of this twisted, angelic figure that, like, oh, something is definitely up here. And the guards that were currently helping the abbess against the party, when they took damage, they made a wisdom saving throw because they were under a charm effect of some kind. So there's all these factors going in and be like, okay, there is something up here, something up the altar, something up with the guard, something up with the abbess. What links them? Okay, we don't have to kill these people. We can help them, we can save them. In doing so, we are rewarded greater than we would have been if we just murdered them all. That's, I think, a very key thing. The option is still there to just murder everyone. It always is. You can always just go fucking apeshit if you wish. If that's something you want to do, go for it. However, I love the idea of rewarding the party for taking a more peaceful option, or taking a smarter option, because it then makes them think in future combats, even if you necessarily haven't thought about an ulterior way for them to complete an encounter, they're then going to be on the lookout for it more and more going forward, and sometimes they'll just engineer one themselves, and then you get to be like, yep, definitely planned that. So the next main thing we're going to talk about is phases. This is definitely something that leans itself more into dynamic combat, making the fight change and move and be different rather than just the same thing from start to end. This is something that kind of existed in 4th edition, I believe, but it kind of got left by the wayside before it was the concept of bloodied. And when something is bloodied, stuff changes, stuff goes different. And I really love this idea because it means that when fights are happening, it's not just I hit, you hit, I hit, you hit, I hit, you hit for the entire time. Stuff changes, the boss starts doing different things, they have to change, the party have to change how they're working to beat it each time. And it's never going to be a straight, like, okay, we have a plan execute perfectly, no issues, no changes, bam, 1 round, done. And it's also, you can break the rules. This is a thing I'll come into a bit later, but you are by no means as DM required when making combat encounters to follow the rules in the player's handbook, because that's for the players. We are not the players, we are the dungeon masters. Our monsters can break those rules. So if I steal things from video games, I've been watching a lot of stuff recently about Resident Evil. Something I've very much got into and very much interested in now. And boy howdy, do they love their phases in boss fights in Resident Evil. And those just happen. There's no, you get a boss, you get Nemesis or Mr. X down to a specific amount of health, and then the phase changes. Do this in D&D. It doesn't matter if it's their turn. Doesn't matter if it's their turn, if it's like they just had their turn. If they've just had their turn, and then the paladin smites them and takes off a massive chunk of their hit points to the point they get into their next phase, there and fucking then, in the middle of that paladin's turn, I don't care if they're only taking 1 of their 2 attacks, you do phase 2. That just happens. The paladin can then continue their turn after that, but if that monster hits 50% of its hit points, shake things up. And that means that paladin then has to be like, oh shit, things have changed very quickly. I think my feet, and go. Keep the combat changing, keep it alive. A combat that just stays how it is throughout the entire fight is going to feel stagnant and slow and repetitive, and it's going to get boring for both you running it and for your players experiencing it. Number 3, and this ties nicely into the concept of phases, and also I think motivations potentially as well as what's going on, but environment. How does the environment around your combat affect the combat in it? Are you fighting in a laboratory against some horrible experiment gone wrong? do the players have the ability to actually defeat it with what they have on them? Do they need to start running around the lab collecting various things to put together something to break through this creature's armor? Are they in a erupting volcano? That's a very good environmental hazard that will keep the fight dynamic, because they can't just stay in one place throughout the fight. Neither can the monster, unless it's something like a fire giant or weird fire slugs. I don't know, something that's immune to fire damage. That one can stay in the lava for all it likes. But if you're against something that is like, oh, I also need to leave, but the player's like, no, Will, we need to leave, but we need to stop you as well. We can't just let you leave. We have to try and fight and run and keep going throughout all of this without dying ourselves to the environment. The environment is such a good threat to have, because you can't fight a tornado. You can't fight an erupting volcano. Especially not alone. Oh, maybe once you get to ninth level, you can fight a tornado. Who the fuck knows? But the ninth level spells and all that shit. Sure, fight a tornado then. But if you're at lower levels, especially, an eruption is happening, you have to run away from that eruption. Otherwise, you're gonna get smushed. Spoilers here for episode
50.
I can't remember what episode it is, but I will dub it in, of High Rollers. They ended up on a space station in an episode, and they had a combat encounter, boss fight, all went great, and then at the end of the boss fight, they didn't beat the boss. She was like, I'm done here, I'm gonna leave. Hey, computer, shut self-destruct system, please, shut down the base. They're in a space station, they have to get to the portal that brought them to this space station before all power goes and it closes, or they're stuck in the vacuum of space. They had to make this run from like the bottom of the space station up to the top in initiative, and also while still in combat. There were 2 drones attacking him throughout this place, and those drones run the risk of knocking them off the staircase. And this staircase was a big spiral staircase that went down into an open hole, and this hole just went straight into space. One of them nearly fell down it. I think maybe 2 of them nearly fell down it as well, and nearly would have just straight up died then. And when they got to the portal, they got in drips and drabs. The first person to get there was the warlock, Nova, who is very much a sort of the brains of the group. And when asked, Mark was like, you might have time, you might not have time. You could go through now, it's still open. You don't know if they'll still be open when your party get here. So Nova then had to think of a way to power this portal to make sure it was still open. This is going a little bit into skill challenge as well, which I think we'll cover in a different video. But just having those other pressures, external pressures on the fight that aren't just the mobs within it or the players, really adds to especially the tension of a fight. And finally, number 4, break the rules. This is a thing I very much picked up from Matt Colville in the DMG, the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, every source and rule book for D&D. They're more like guidelines, really. They actively encourage this in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Like, hey, these are suggestions, but do what the fuck you want. And I think a lot of us get hung up on the like, oh, that's not technically how that works. Oh, that's a little bit game breaking. Break the game. Because the players are never going to be able to predict how you break the game. They might be able to, especially if you have people, especially if you're DMing for Dungeon Masters. If you are DMing for Dungeon Masters, we know so much about the rules and about different monsters ourselves that we are prone to, I think unintentionally a lot of the time, prone to metagaming just because we have this innate knowledge in us. If you break the rules, if you're homebrewing everything, and this is a very like a big thing, you don't have to do this for everything, but if you are bringing surprises out, it's good for everyone, because it then leads to those just oh shit moments. This is more powerful than anything, because this is a thing like this is the thing in D&D anyway. Players, regardless of how powerful you get, with the exception of something like Wish, maybe, there is no way for a PC necromancer class to assemble the hordes of undead that someone like Strahd or in like the other media, the Lich King controls. That is only something that evil NPCs are able to do. That's game breaking. That is like breaking the game. Do that more. Make things happen. So if there's a fantastic example from Matt Colville, someone went down in a fight against this guy who was the scion of Orcus, god of undeath, or demon prince of undeath. So this guy can just point at them, and that person has to make a wisdom saving throw. If they don't make it, they die. This might be a bit too much for some people, and I know a lot of us can feel very like, oh, about character death, because it is a very scary thing to handle. And I've done it. I've had to do it a couple times with various levels of sticking. But just those simple things, it ties in very well to the phasing of the phase changes happening mid-turn for someone. People aren't going to expect that. People can't plan for that. It keeps the combat engaging. It means people have to fucking pay attention because they can't count on their just absorbed knowledge of 5e to save them. So those are some tips or ideas. I don't want to be like here telling people how to play their game. This is not at all my intention. I've only been DMing for a year and a half at most, really, now. So I don't want to get into that. These are just sort of ideas that you can take away yourself. Take them, ruminate on them. Comment below if you have any ideas or if you think this entire thing is ridiculous and like this is how I would do it better. Or like, I'd love to hear the discussion on what happens here, and also then so I can steal things from you guys, because that's all DMing is. It's collectively stealing everything you've already experienced and packaging it in a nice bouquet of pain. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.